This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're in Wisconsin. I am here with Women's Financial Wellness Center. Since 2014, she has been helping you navigate the financial aspects of the divorce process while moving forward with confidence and clarity. Your support system to make strategic, winning moves. I'm joined here with the founder and CEO, Rhonda. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Excellent. Start off a little bit about yourself. You were formally educated at Carroll's University with National Honors and Magna Cum Laude. You've acquired multiple certifications throughout the years in finance and whatnot. You have hosted Divorce Conversations for Women's podcast for the past 5 years. Professional speaking for nearly a decade, but really using your voice to move people and help them in their lives. That kind of came at an early age for you. Share with me a little bit how this passion began for you.
Yeah, absolutely. In the early 2000s, I started in the financial industry and just really found myself very passionate about wanting to help women. And so I would do workshops and events and seminars, and women would come, standing room only, and they would just kind of be leaning into the information, right? And so long story short, I was there for 12 years and eventually decided, you know what? I think I want to start Women's Financial Wellness Center. I want to have a place that women can go that's safe, encouraging, and empowers them, where they're at in their lives. And I was seeing a lot of opportunity within the divorce space, primarily because women were coming through my door saying, Rhonda, I don't know what's going on. My attorney's not calling me back. I'm frustrated. I'm feeling bullied into making financial decisions. And I just remember thinking there had to be a better way. And we found the better way.
Wow. True entrepreneur, you've seen a need, you filled that need. I mean, the stress scale indicates that divorce is the second highest stressor for humans, second only to death. The journey can find you alone, scared, overwhelmed. Is compassionate, expert guidance and support from the start really kind of critical to finishing the journey, maybe with some peace of mind?
Yeah, you know what? It's really huge. I think a lot of times people they feel like they have to kind of be backed up against a wall and really struggling to ask for help. And without knowing the whole picture, they oftentimes will get in the middle of the divorce process and then feel like this is kind of a disaster. They don't know what's going on. They don't know where they're at in the process. They don't feel like anybody's listening to them. So the sooner that we can get involved, the better. And I have a specific process and program that I take clients through to help them navigate through from feeling like they're in crisis mode to closure. And it's something that I've helped hundreds and hundreds of women from all over the US and beyond walk through the divorce space. And so we can be proactive and strategic instead of being reactive.
Interesting. I mean, finding a support team is an important decision. Due diligence is necessary beyond just trusting anyone with these private and personal matters. What should a person look for or ask for when considering a professional like yourself to work with?
Well, I think the first thing is, what's their mission and vision? What are they all about? What's the core of how they make decisions? The second thing is, are they familiar with situations similar to yours? And if so, can they give you an example? So one of the things I will often see is people say, well, my spouse is a narcissist. Well, maybe they are. Maybe they have some of those tendencies, right? But at the end of the day, everybody will say, oh yeah, I know, I work with them all the time. That's fine, but what does that mean, And so I would just say, that's great. Can you give me an example? So that's probably the biggest thing. The second thing is, how long have they been doing it? How many people have they helped? What's their area of expertise? But at the end of the day, I think it's philosophy, what their philosophy is about the process, and just really feeling like you're connected with them, and that their message, their approach, their structure resonates with you.
Excellent. I think that's a great answer to that. I mean, most who find themselves in this situation have never been down this road before. How important is knowing their options and resources? And do you approach each client knowing that each is unique and requires a custom strategy?
Yeah, you know what? It's huge. It is absolutely huge. I think, each situation is different. I think a lot of times people end up Googling to try to get information, and they spend a lot of time endlessly Googling only to find themselves more confused which, happens. The more information, you're like, can I just have a direction and guidance? So that individual support is really, really important. Knowing that, again, there is a kind of a structure and a process to the divorce process. But again, my approach is always, hey, I've seen behind the scenes. I'm kind of a straight shooter. I just have real talk with my clients to say, listen, this is what, you're being told. And at the end of the day, here's what I've seen, And one quick example is, you could have 5 different judges, 5 different attorneys, and you could get 5 different answers, right? And so how are we leaning into making sure that we're advocating for ourselves in the best way possible? And I want to give women the things to be looking for, the pitfalls to avoid, and the questions to be answering. Because I believe that women, when they ask good questions, they get good answers.
That is great. I mean, let's face it, matters of the heart are never easy when finance, children, and material assets are involved. Unfortunately, most do not have these laid out clear in detail prior to a divorce. Can women take a proactive approach that will help, even if they're just contemplating divorce?
Yeah, absolutely. I think women stay in that contemplation stage for on average 2 years. Usually the women that reach out to me have actually been in contemplation longer. So there's a couple things that they can do. One, they can start gathering and organizing financial information. If they don't already have that information organized, this is a great time to start doing that. And there's some other side benefits, right? Like, it's tax time anyway, so we can be getting stuff organized, or end of year, or whatever. But gather and organize the financial documents. The second thing that women can do is they can start putting together a budget and get a good understanding of the expenses for the household. And the third thing is they can reach out to my company, to Women's Financial Wellness Center, and I can actually help them kind of behind the scenes with a few additional things that they can be working on. One of those would also be interviewing attorneys. And so we have a vetted list of attorneys that we work with. And if we don't have one in their particular city or state, we certainly do our research, do the vetting to find one for them, which has been really, really helpful.
Always good advice to be prepared. I mean, there's a quote that says, you can't win the game if you do not know the rules. Helping women to feel in control and have the confidence to feel like they're the most powerful piece on the game board. I mean, is that really what your team does every day?
Oh, yeah, Gary, you know what? It really is. This is all I do all day is work with women that are going through divorce, strategizing through the process and helping them, really ask the right questions and be prepared as much as possible around the finances. And at the end of the day, over the last 9 years, we've been able to not only help hundreds and hundreds of women one-on-one, but impacted thousands and thousands with our podcast, Divorce Conversations for Women. And we've even been able to move about $20 million into the hands of women that would otherwise have been left on the table. And it's not at the expense of, taking the guys out of the knees. I think that's really important is, we're not anti-male, but the court system's not very nice to women. And what ends up happening is they end up leaving the divorce process and their lifestyle goes down 41%. And then they're left to pick up the pieces. And sometimes women don't even recover after the divorce is over. And so that's really the heart and the mission of Women's Financial Wellness Center is to make sure that we got to just change the stats. It's the best way to put it. One person, one woman at a time, we got to change the stats. And it's working.
Wow, much needed service you provide. I mean, having a knowledgeable team acting on your behalf obviously is in your best interest. Being committed to the individual and not the process, would you say is the cornerstone to your success?
That's huge. You really just nailed that, right? I think there's a lot of people in this space that are committed to the process and then they forget about the people, right? And I think there's a balance. I love processes. I love knowing what's going on, but we can't lose sight of the people in the midst of the process.
You help high-achieving women have a successful divorce. You help all women navigate this road to really a win-win outcome. Whether it's simple or complex with many assets at stake, is the consultation really the starting point? And what takes place there, and is there a cost for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a quiz on our website called Your Next Best Move. And women can fill out take this little quiz and figure out what their next best move is. Sometimes it's going to be, hey, we've got some resources that we think will help you, and here's connection to those. In addition, it might be, hey, we think it does make sense for you to chat with somebody live. So there's really 2 options depending on, how they answer the questions and what we feel like is their next best move. But Both of those options initially are free, so they can have some free access to resources, tips, tools, checklists, things that might be helpful for them right immediately. And then the initial consult is also complimentary.
Excellent. Great way to get started. Honestly, we've all heard the horror stories where you spend a ton of money and you still feel like you got the short end of the stick in the end. Do these successful women sometimes have even more to protect than their spouses? And would you say most really want to be fair, but definitely don't want to give up everything they've built?
Absolutely. Most of the time when I talk to women, they say, Rhonda, I don't want to take my husband to the cleaners. And I'm like, well, good, because neither do I. I just want to make sure that they do get what's fair and what's coming to them. And I would say the biggest gap for a lot of the women is that they just maybe haven't had as much opportunity in the workforce to generate income. So, they may be able to generate income, but it will take them time to get back into the workforce. They're already behind. And then we can address so we've got the wage gap, which is certainly part of it. And then we also just have the experience and time horizon gap. So their spouse usually tends to be, the higher income earner, not always, but they're just further down the path, more experience, more raises, more bonuses. And a lot of times women have decided to stay home or work part-time and take a break from their professional careers. So that certainly has served as a challenge when it comes to the income side of the divorce process.
Deciding what's fair in the end. You have provided private, discreet, and safe consulting for many, many women. Even contemplating divorce can be overwhelming. The convenience of taking courses is now an offering that you provide. I want you to touch on that before we let you go.
Absolutely. So you know what, Gary, I actually spent 15 years in higher education, teaching and developing curriculum, and I kind of got away from it. My business really got busy and found that, that was certainly a passion of mine. And I'm really about the education and empowering women to make good decisions, not only through the divorce process, but after the divorce process is over. So I have developed some curriculum, some workshops to be able to help women do that. But I also believe in a hybrid model. So I will do the education followed by accountability and even some private one-on-one as part of that process.
That is great. Although your clients probably have never been down this road before, you have the experience. You're in their corner. You're someone who understands. You're compassionate. You're a financial advocate for women. Is this rewarding work for you?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, it is rewarding work. This is what gets me up every single day. And it's not hard. I always say, the best analogy is I'm running up the down escalator, right? And you're like, I'm trying to gain traction, and then you gain traction, and finally you get to the top and you're like, okay, it was worth it. But we're challenging paradigms. We're showing up in a confident, assertive, and yet kind way, right? Like you said, the advocacy part is huge. There's many times that women have said, Rhonda, in that mediation, in that meeting, you truly were the only one that was really listening to me and really advocating for me. And I think that's essentially, what we're all about. And the outcomes are showing it, right? But it's not easy, not simple. But you get those wins and it makes it worth it.
That is great. We're excited to share this information with our viewers. Viewers, take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. You're going to see our website. On the website, you're going to learn more about Rhonda and her mission. I mean, you really owe it to yourself to set up a consultation to go from overwhelmed to empowered. Women's Financial Wellness Center. Make your next best move and get the post-divorce lifestyle you deserve. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV. And if you don't know, now you know.